Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into what's literally one of the most incredibly useful grammar structures in the Spanish language, the antepresente tense. More specifically, we're going to tackle those 12 irregular participles that, let's be real, almost always trip up English-speaking learners. If you want to thought about things you've done or experiences you've had, you absolutely need this tense. It is a total game changer for conversational fluency, and we're going to break it all down so it makes perfect sense.
Here's what we're looking at today. First up, the antepresent tense itself. Then, the auxiliary verb haber. Next, we'll cover the regular rule, followed by the irregular dozen. And finally, some real-world practice.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the antepresente tense.
Okay, so before we start memorizing any irregular verbs or complex rules, we need to nail down exactly what this tense actually is, right? Like, when do you actually use it in everyday conversation? It's so crucial to understand the why before the how. So the antepresente is used for actions that started in the past and just keep continuing right up into the present. Or, for expected actions that just haven't been completed quite yet. Now, if you're a native English speaker, this is going to feel super familiar. It's essentially the direct equivalent of the English present perfect tense. Think of sentences like, I have worked here for years, or they have not arrived yet. It's that vital bridge connecting the past right up to the present moment.
Moving on to Section 2, the auxiliary verb haber.
Now that we've got the what and the why, let's look at the next crucial building block. This is the foundational verb that makes the entire tense function. Honestly, you literally cannot construct the antepresente without it. Okay, let's dive into this sort of mathematical-style formula for the tense. I know, doing math in a language explainer sounds a bit cruel, but I love framing it this way because it anchors the grammar in pure, predictable logic. Step 1. You conjugate the auxiliary verb haber. Step 2. You simply add the participle of your main verb. And that's it. Haber plus participle. It's just a simple two-step equation for grammar success.
To execute step 1 of our formula, you are going to need these exact conjugations of haber. I highly encourage you to take a screenshot of this clean grammar rule right now for your notes. Got it? Awesome. Let's read through them rhythmically to really get the sound in our ears. Ready? For yo, it's he. For tú, it's has. For él, ella, or usted, it's a. For nosotros, it's hemos. And for ustedes, ellos, or ellas, it's han. So that is he, has, ha, hemos, han. Memorize those 5 little words and boom, you've got half the tense perfectly built.
Which brings us to Section 3, the regular rule.
So we have our auxiliary verb ready to go. Now for the second half of the formula, the participle. But, we need to look at the standard everyday breaks before we can fully appreciate the special decorative ones. This brilliantly illustrates how simple the regular verbs are to construct. If your main verb ends in AR, you just drop the AR and add ADO. So just like our source shows, amar simply becomes amado. Now if your verb ends in ER or IR, you drop those letters and add ito. So temer becomes temido and partir becomes partido. Put it together with haber, and you get he amado for I have loved, or hemos partido for we have left. Simple, clean, and completely logical.
And now for the fun part. Section 4, the irregular dozen.
Because, of course, every beautiful language has its rule breakers, right? We've reached the main event of our explainer. Now, according to page 155 of the student manual, there are 12 specific irregular participles that completely ignore the rules we just learned. I mean, they just throw the rule book out the window. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that instead of a regular ado or ido ending, we get words that usually end in to or cho. These are the absolute rebels of the Spanish vocabulary, and you are simply going to have to commit them to memory.
So let's break these down into 2 groups of 6 to really aid your memory retention. Notice the shared sounds and rhythms as we go through them. Romper, to break, becomes roto. Devolver, to return an item, becomes devuelto. Ver, to see, becomes visto. Hacer, to do or make, becomes hecho. Escribir, to write, becomes escrito. And decir, to say, becomes dicho. Listen to that rhythm one more time. Roto, devuelto, visto, hecho, escrito, dicho.
Now for the final 6 irregulars. Pay close attention here because these are essential vocabulary words you're going to use constantly. Poner, to put, becomes puesto. Cubrir, to cover, becomes cubierto. Abrir, to open, becomes abierto. Morir, to die, becomes muerto. Resolver, to resolve, becomes resuelto. And imprimir, to print, becomes impreso. puesto, cubierto, abierto, muerto, resuelto, impreso. Honestly, just say them out loud with me next time you practice, and they'll become totally second nature to you in no time.
Section 5. Real-world practice. All right, you've got the foundational blocks, you've got the irregular decorative pieces. Now it is time to pivot and apply what we've actually built. Let's do a quick interactive test based on a real story directly from our source text about a girl named Laura and her family. Okay, here's our first scenario. Laura's parents had to buy a new water motor because the old one broke. El motor se ha blank, and we need the participle for romper. Can you recall the irregular participle for romper from just a few moments ago? Think about that rebel ending. I'll give you a second to lock in your answer.
Roto. That's exactly right. El motor se ha roto. The motor has broken. If you got that, fantastic job actively engaging with these grammar blocks. You remember that romper doesn't become some regular rompido, right? It transforms completely into roto.
Let's issue one final fill-in-the-blank challenge just to completely solidify our learning from the manual's practice section. So, Laura learned a valuable lesson from this broken motor incident and wrote about it in her diary. Laura has blank en su diario. We need the participle for escribir. What is it? Lock it in.
Escrito. Laura ha escrito en su diario. And this brilliantly illustrates how the habit plus participle formula works flawlessly in real-life contexts. We have our auxiliary verb ha, matching Laura, and our irregular participle escrito. She has written. See? It really is that simple when you just follow the building blocks.
Wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. From the basic rules of the antepresente all the way to mastering those 12 tricky irregulars detailed on page 155 of the student manual. So, I have a question to leave you with. Which of these 12 irregular participles do you find the hardest to remember? Like, is it hecho, visto, maybe resuelto? Like this explainer and let us know in the comments below. We absolutely love hearing about your language learning journey and what parts of the grammar puzzle challenge you the most. Keep practicing those building blocks and stay curious.